An ex-Trump aide, Anthony Scaramucci, said on the Daily Beast podcast that yes, Trump probably, likely is compromised, but not necessarily in the way that Elon Musk said he was. You might all remember Scaramucci as Trump's former comms director during his first administration. He went down in history as the shortest-serving director in that role, keeping the job for just 10 days. What a time that was. So many staff turnovers in that first administration. The second one actually feels weirdly stable compared to 2017. But when Scaramucci was fired just after a week and a half, it just exemplified how insecure and fickle the whole Trump presidency really was. But Scaramucci went on the Daily Beast podcast to discuss the current Trump administration, including Trump's recently inflamed feud with California Governor Gavin Newsom, as well as Trump's ongoing breakup with Elon Musk. When asked about the Epstein revelation from Elon, where he alleged in a now-deleted tweet that Trump's name is in the Epstein files, Scaramucci said that Trump's relationship with Epstein probably wasn't as scandalous as many think it was.
Do you have any information on what there is supposed to be around Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't. I think if that stuff was out there, just me saying this, I don't have any sources, but my gut tells me if that stuff was out there, the Democrats would have played that in 2020. They would have played that in 2024. I mean, they controlled the FBI, didn't they? In the last administration, Merrick Garland could have found that.
And I tend to agree with him here that if something was out there directly implicating Trump regarding Epstein and his illicit activities, that it would have been released by now. I know that sometimes information gets withheld for release at a more opportune moment, but as he pointed out in that clip, it feels like there have already been so many of those opportune moments when more could have been released, besides what we've already seen so many times, like that video of Trump chatting and laughing with Epstein at a party. Chatting and laughing with someone is not a crime, not even chatting and laughing with someone as vile as Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of people have to play nice with terrible people at their jobs or in politics or just for the sake of cordiality and mixed company, etc. That's understandable. It's not a good look, but as far as implicating someone, it's simply not enough to go off of. Scaramucci elaborated on his point a bit more before suggesting that there's another Trump relationship that is likely far more significant and more relevant to the American people.
The Epstein taint has lingered on many people. I just wondered if the White House had when you were there, whether or not there was a sort of general feeling at the White House that this was not an issue for Donald Trump.
Joanna, I don't know the answer, so I want to be very clear on that. But my gut tells me I don't think it is an issue.
Right. Was
he at parties with him? Did he do certain things with him? There's film of that, obviously. Did he go over the line with Jeff Epstein and do something super malevolent and super nefarious? I don't believe that's the case because I think that would have come out. But again, I don't know. Okay, but the flip side is, while I'm saying that to you, I believe there is kompromat on Donald Trump.
So who is Scaramucci worried about? It's Vladimir Putin. It's the same guy it's always been. We always knew that Trump's relationship with Putin was suspicious. We always suspected that Trump was not the dominant one in that relationship. And when I say we, apparently even people working within Trump's first administration were puzzled by Trump's obsequiousness towards this person who has long been hostile towards our nation.
I believe there is kompromat on Donald Trump. I don't know what it is. We all used to say, okay, what is it? What is the hold that Vladimir Putin has on this guy? Because, again, when the window's open and you hear clippity clop, it is a horse. It's not a zebra. Don't overthink the goddamn thing, okay?
Right.
And so this guy is kowtowing to Putin. Putin has the GDP of Italy. He's in a failed state. He's in a state that has a failing military industrial complex. He's in a train wreck situation at home. And yet he owns the president of the United States. How does he own the president of the United States?
Nothing that people haven't said so many times before. That the reason why Trump is seemingly doing Putin's bidding is because Putin has compromising information on Trump. What that could be, the possibilities are endless. For a man who seems untouchable and infallible, both by courts and public opinion, I would be interested to hear what it is that Trump doesn't even want to get out. Perhaps it is just that he has been actively working with Russia, maybe not in a political capacity, but maybe from before when he was just a billionaire businessman. It would have to be something that would hurt his image and ego as a billionaire businessman, because his entire brand as a politician was originally built on the idea that he was great at business. If that image is shattered, especially by Russia, then Trump's entire brand and persona would collapse. And when your success is primarily rooted in a very carefully curated and manicured public persona, hits to that image can implode your entire operation. And while Scaramucci believes that any incriminating information regarding Trump and Epstein would have come out by now, he doesn't necessarily feel the same way about information regarding Trump's relationship with Putin. The idea that Trump loves authoritarians has always been somewhat puzzling, because if there's one thing we know about Trump, it's that he's a narcissist. His ego is the only thing that he seems to understand. It's the thing that he is most concerned with protecting. And for someone who has, again, built an entire brand, public persona, and political movement on this image that he is a brilliant chess player and negotiator who does not back down to anyone, Trump's relationship to Putin has always made him appear submissive and weak. Most people who want to be seen as the biggest and baddest on the block are not idolatrous in the way that Trump has been seen to be with Putin. You can't be the biggest and baddest when you are enamored by someone else, because you'd be admitting that someone is bigger and badder than you are. Trump tries to act as though he is putting his foot down with Putin, but he knows that there's very little, if anything, he can say that will sway Putin's actions in any meaningful way. What happened to Trump putting a swift end to the war with Ukraine? Putin does not care about Trump, and it's clear for all outside of MAGA to see. And by the way, as far as Trump never backing down, he's now become known for his taco tariffs, with taco being an acronym that is wildly unflattering to Trump. You can't be a strong man when you're also always chickening out. This nickname must be driving Trump crazy, because as much as he tries to deny it, we see him constantly walking back various threats that he makes against people and institutions. He keeps trying to reassure his supporters that his apparent walkbacks are not him chickening out at all. He's negotiating at such a high level that we just don't understand what he's doing. And who knows, maybe that is what's happening. But either way, the image is taking a huge hit with this nickname, and it's not good for Trump. That nickname, plus this recent footage of Trump stumbling up the steps of Air Force One, it's not a great combo. So before we wrap up, I want to show you what Scaramucci had to say about Trump v. Newsom. Scaramucci says that Trump is, at least in part, trying to revive his bully persona with his attacks on protesters in LA and the California governor. But things haven't been working out for Trump in that respect either.
Yes, the Americans are for securing the border. The Americans are for limiting the illegal immigration. But what they're not for is a neighbor who got here illegally, that's paying their taxes, that is a law-abiding citizen, that's raised 2 children in their neighborhood. They don't want that person ripped out of the neighborhood by Tom Homan. They don't want that. Okay. And so the battle that's going on in LA, they are missizing that. Trump could start something in California if he's not careful, and that is a centrist rebellion against MAGA policies.
Now, let's be real. Trump has plenty of support for what he's doing in LA right now. People are buying the footage, believing that the protesters throwing trash are the problem, not the armed forces that are shooting rubber bullets at them. However, I have to believe that plenty more people are seeing through what's happening in LA. Plenty more people are understanding that Trump is trying to make an example of the opposition that he's facing in LA. People understand that Trump's disregard for the rule of law in this country can and will be weaponized against citizens, that the military forces that take all of our tax dollars on the promise that they will protect us from foreign threats can and will be weaponized against us. And none of it is good. None of it is a positive prognosticator for what can and likely will come if Trump gets his way. And up until now, he has very much gotten his way. He's hit some roadblocks here and there, but we didn't get to this point overnight. We got here because Trump and his cronies were allowed to to get away with things little by little over the course of several years without suffering any meaningful losses. For example, I don't think Rudy Giuliani's sullied reputation is considered a meaningful loss in MAGA land. The trajectory this country is currently on feels wild and unsustainable. We cannot keep going the way that we're going without some kind of eruption. And I don't mean that it has to be a violent eruption. Maybe that's the wrong word to use there, but something will eventually have to give. And it feels like we're approaching that moment. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I don't think it's going to solve all of the problems that we're currently facing as a nation. I think it will take a long time to undo the damage that Trumpism has inflicted on this country, specifically the seemingly insurmountable division that has been wrought between countrymen. However, the sooner that moment comes, whatever it looks like, the better it'll be for all of us. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.